Do you have any trophies on your list that you're embarrassed of? Any little marks of shame in your platinum hunting journey? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, welcome back, everybody. I thought it would be fun to do a list of my 15 most common platinum trophies by rarity. So, of all the players of these individual games, these are the 15 that the highest percentage of people have actually obtained the platinum on. This is sort of an unofficial follow-up in some ways to a video I just put out about getting 200 trophies in a month. In that video, some people, not many, most people were very kind, but some people, you know who you are, gave me a little bit of guff, and they said, hey, that's only because you're playing easy games, buddy. It's only because you play easy little baby games. And so I figured, you know what? Let's lean into that, and I will show you what my 15 most common platinums are, and I'll let you be the judge. Am I someone who's diving in the dumpster, playing some garbage just for the sake of garbage? Am I a little truffle hunting pig, snorting around, rolling in the muck, trying to find something good? Or am I just a dude playing games? So, thank you for stopping by again. Welcome back. And as with all my videos, this will be chill. It'll be relaxed, something that you can put up as you're doing some trophy hunting yourself, listen to it podcast style if that's what you're looking for. We're just going to have fun, talk about my 15 most common platinums. And if people enjoy this one and they want a follow-up video to this, if enough people are kind to me in the comments, if people hold back, if they pull their punches enough that my ego stays intact, maybe I'll do my 15 rarest platinum video after this. So, given that, why don't we go ahead and get started with my 15th most common platinum, which is Magus. Yes, this is Magus. This is a PlayStation 3 game that 68.68% of people have achieved the platinum. This game, I think, has a bit of a reputation for people in the PS3 era trying to do some trophy hunting. This is sort of like early trophy hunting shovelware before we entered into the current state of things where you can buy a game that gives you a platinum in a minute for $1. Back then, this type of game the platinum could be achieved in, I don't want to say like 3 to 5 hours, something like that. It's not too long. This is what people were looking for, right up there with your Hannah Montanas and your Terminator Salvations. But yeah, I purchased this game and played it actually not with trophies really in mind initially. I actually bought this to stream on my Twitch page. I enjoy me some janky video games. And when I found this for a couple bucks at a GameStop years and years ago, I was like, this looks like some garbage I could be into. So we went ahead, we streamed it over on Twitch, and we had a good laugh with it. It was an enjoyable time. Very fun stream. But as I tend to do whenever I start a game, I'm not really looking to trophy hunt for that particular game all the time, but I will usually check a trophy guide ahead of me actually starting a game, because while I don't want to follow a guide for my first playthrough in most instances, like I don't want to just follow a collectibles guide, boom, 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 boom. If I can do something in one playthrough that doesn't really require me to look stuff up or pay that close of attention, I'll do it. So, if there's like 1 or 2 small missable trophies, I want to know about those ahead of time so I don't have to force myself into an entire second playthrough. Although most of the time I end up doing 2 playthroughs anyways, just because I want my first playthrough to be as sort of fresh and pure as it can be. But in Magus, in order to obtain the platinum, all you really need to do is play through the game, kind of, see every level, do all the stuff. But you do have to max every skill tree, and there's not enough skill points in the game for you to do that. And so basically the recommendation is to build up a bank of skill points and then save your game and then, fill up one skill tree in its entirety and then load, fill up the next, load, fill up the last. So you do have to be a little bit conscious about that if you want to do it all in one playthrough. And so I knew that going in. The game isn't really impacted that much by you not updating your skill tree. I feel like I still had a pure experience. I still had a good time goofing around on this game. And yeah, in general, I was able to basically get it done without too much effort. So yeah, these Necromancer, Green with Envy, and Blue Meanie, these are the ones that you have to kind of be aware of. So All in all, it was a fun game. I don't regret playing it. Again, not one I played specifically for the trophies, but sometimes life gifts you with an easy platinum, and we take those wins. I think there'll be a few other games in this list that have a similar story, but we'll find out as we go. All right, on to number 14. My 14th rarest platinum is Megamind, not Mastermind. So another PS3 game, and probably pretty similar to Magus in terms of like this is PS3 era sort of licensed easy trophy hunting. However, there's a reason I have played this one in particular. This was my 75th platinum, and I chose this game specifically. So I kind of got into really getting into trophy hunting in 2021 or so, 2020. I've always, played PlayStation. I've always trophy hunted, but at that time, a buddy of mine each had like in the range of 20 to 30 platinums. And we started a little friendly competition. I was talking a little smack, getting a little bluster, and my friend Ari Lewis 2011 fired it right back. And so he and I entered into sort of an unofficial who can have more platinums race. There was no end goal. We were just trying to beat each other. And so we were going back and forth, and we were pretty neck and neck. And one of the games on his list that he was really close to the platinum but never got was this one. It was Megamind. And I think the reason that he never got it, let me see if I can pull up the trophy for you here. It was one of these. So these like defeat Psychodelic without dying, defeat Hot Flash without dying. There was one of these trophies he didn't have. He had like every other trophy, but he had just not beaten one boss without getting hit. And he was too lazy to go replay the level to fight the boss again. And so I thought it would be a good way for me to kind of shame him to go put this platinum on my list. So I pulled ahead of him in the race, and then for my 75th platinum, without even telling him I was going to play it, I went and I did the entire game, got the platinum, and then I got to go, ha, I have the Megamind platinum. So I do like licensed games, licensed kind of movie-based games of this era. They're fun. I have some others on my list too. They're good, just like fun to poke at, explore, see what they're all about. So again, no regrets here. Very fun one. And if you're looking for an easy licensed platinum on the PS3, you could do a lot worse than Megamind. All right, my number 13 platinum is Adam's Venture Origins. This is 72% of people that have played this game have earned the platinum, which tells you a lot about it. And you can tell from the dates on this. This goes back to 2016. This predates my like really hardcore or conscious trophy hunting. I was a little less focused on it back at this time. And so when I picked this game up, I really picked it up just because it was the pitch of the game, right? It was dollar store Uncharted. So if you've never played this one before, it plays just like an Uncharted game if the budget was cut by like 30 times. Like it is very jank, very cheesy. The acting is not great. It's not a tremendous game. But I knew that when I went in, right? Sometimes I like, checking out some goofy, dumb stuff, having a couple hours of fun and getting in and getting out. And that was the case with this one. So you can see I played it pretty much all in one sitting, all in one day. In fact, if we order this by date, let's see. I started this game October 8th at 11:19 a.m. and I finished it at 4:02 p.m. So I just had me a nice big 5-hour Adam's Venture Origin session, knocked it all out, had a good time. You could do a lot worse than this game, but you also could do a lot better. Well, maybe you couldn't do a lot worse. You could do worse, but you're more likely to do better than Adam's Venture Origin. So, fun game, but only if you have the right mindset for it, I think. All right, moving on. I've lost track. What is this? My 12th most common platinum? We'll find out as we go. The Artful Escape. Now, I feel like this one is one that a lot of people out there do have. I think this is one of the more common like fast platinums or faster platinums associated with a good game that's out there. I see this one a lot when I'm watching videos for like, 10 platinums in 10 days, 30 platinums in 30 days, those types of challenge videos. Seems like Artful Escape shows up in every single one of them. So I probably don't need to like belabor the overview of the game too much. But for folks unaware, it is a side-scrolling platformer rock opera. So really most of the game is just you running left to right, and you have a button to like wheedly shred on your guitar, and then it's just like flashy over the top like visuals that look like the cover of a Boston album. Just really kind of an art forward, art first sort of indie game. The reason I played it is because it is published by Annapurna Interactive, which is a publisher of indie games, kind of like more like boutique or curated indie games. And I really like the stuff that they put out. Some of my all-time favorite games, namely Outer Wilds and Sayonara Wild Hearts, are both games that they published and developed them, but they published them. And so I feel like they have a pretty good eye for quality, and I usually line up with the the style of game that they choose. All that said, I was not the biggest fan of Artful Escape. It was a fine game. For me, it's a real 3 out of 5 star type of game. I liked what it was going for. It had some really cool moments, some big, fun, flashy, sort of set piece songs and events. But the gameplay is so basic. And if I'm being perfectly honest, it's not necessarily my genre of music. That's sort of like, wheedly deedly sort of guitar. It's just not really my thing personally. But I know that a lot of people really enjoy that game, and I totally see why. And that's probably why 73% of people have obtained the platinum. This is another one where I don't recall if there's even any missables. There are a few missables. Yeah, you have to do like a couple of conscious things here, but you can jump back to points in the story. None of them take more than a few minutes to clean up, and you'll get a lot of them on accident. So, plus it's one of those games that just has a bunch of gold trophies. So, I'm pretty sure that also this one's pretty common because a lot of people have it on PlayStation Plus Extra. I want to say it's on there. It may have gotten taken down at this point. Games come and go off that service all the time. But yeah, you could have some fun, especially if you're kind of a music person. If that's one of your big hobbies or something that you're really passionate about. I think this game is definitely worth trying. It's good. All right, my 11th most common platinum is Air Memories of Old. So this is a game that has 74.47% of people that have played it have achieved the platinum. We are almost at the 75% mark, the 3/4 mark, but not quite. Air Memories of Old is sort of an open world exploration, basically like an artsy game. So there's a style of game that I really love, and it's basically games inspired by Ico, the PlayStation 2 game, or Journey, the PlayStation 3 game. So Ico is one of my all-time favorites. Fumito Ueda is one of my favorite developers. Team Ico is one of my favorite developers, I should say. Love that game. And I also love Journey by that game company. That was also a really defining game for me as I was sort of getting more and more into games in that era. And so I'm always sort of interested in games that have that feeling. Maybe they're a little less mechanically complex because they favor either cool environmental design or they're trying to evoke some sort of emotion in their story. Stuff like that really is kind of to my taste. And so I checked out Air Memories of Old because it was giving me those types of vibes. And what it ultimately is just a game where you play as a sort of little bird person, and you can fly around to these different sky islands and kind of solve some very light puzzles, Legend of Zelda style in a way. It's really not too taxing or too demanding. As for the trophy list, you get a bunch of the trophies just by playing through naturally, and then there's one or two kind of like see this thing or go to this place type trophies that you have to get. If I sort this by rarity, a lot of these are all like speak to all the spirit animals. That's really easy to do. Find a thing, find a statue. It's basically just go to this place and the trophy pops. So it doesn't take long at all. This is also a couple hours, maybe 2 hours or something to get the platinum. It was a fun game. It didn't maybe live up to my hope or my hype or my expectations, but I did have a fun time playing through it. Don't regret it at all. Sometimes games that are kind of cool like this just happen to have high platinums. Not much you can do about it, or high percentage platinums. All right, are we down to my top 10? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, so this is my 10th most common platinum, coming in at 74.92%, we have Lady in a leotard with a gun. Now, this one probably, of all the games on my list, no, there's one other one too, I think. This is the one that you would look at and be like, man, that is some trophy shovelware if I've ever seen it. And you are correct, but I did not play this game because it was trophy shovelware. I played it because it's kind of a meme in our friends group. So several of us, including Ari Lewis 2011 that I mentioned before, have checked this game out. This developer has actually released multiple games like this, and it's just sort of fun to see what a bare minimum effort project looks like. Like, this is barely over the line of like a pre-built sort of like tutorial style shooter that you could do following Unity tutorials for an hour or two. Now, game design takes more work than that, so obviously it took longer, but I don't think anyone playing this game is going to deny that this was, something that has no polish at all. It is jank. It is put out there unfinished, and it's people just trying to make a buck or two off of the work that they did, or a person trying to make a buck or two off the work they did. But I can't deny that it is ridiculous, and I enjoyed it for being ridiculous. And so we played through. I think you actually have to beat this game twice. No, not this one. There might be another one you have to beat twice. But if I look at this list, there's just trophies for beating every level without taking damage. Some of these were kind of actually a little bit annoying to do without taking any damage, but none of them took more than like a couple of attempts. Obviously, I did all these in one day within like an hour if I sort it by date. Let's see. Yeah, I started at 4:47 p.m. I was done by 5:31 p.m. A tight 45. So obviously, I'm not going to say it actually took particularly long, but there's this one trophy for finding the broken gun ducky in level 11, which is just a duck with a gun in its mouth. And to find this, you have to just in this, I think 11 is the last level. From the start, you just have to turn around and run for 5 minutes or something. Really, just ridiculous. So, was it a waste of my time? I don't think so. I think it was fun to have a laugh and share stories with buddies about how ridiculous this game is. But I wouldn't blame anyone for looking at this game on my profile and thinking, all right, bro, I see what you're doing. All right. Number 9 in the Platinum rarity, we have Donut County. 75%. We've breached it. Donut County, this is another game I believe published by Annapurna Interactive, plus it just looked like a cute game. The pitch of this game is that you control a hole, and you move the hole around, and you're trying to collect a whole bunch of objects in the level. Sort of like an inverted Katamari Damacy in a way. But it also has some, conversation, some stories, stuff like that. It's a pretty slight experience, I'll say. Pretty sure it only took me a couple of hours. That's probably why this percentage is so high. And if we look at the rarer trophies, if there are any rare trophies, they're all common. Yeah, these are all you complete the last boss without taking any damage, and then I think these are all just kind of story stuff. Some of these might be optional things you have to go to. You have to lose the boss fight, so it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's only a couple hours, really easy to clean up. Doesn't take much time at all. And it is a fun game. If you're worried about having a platinum this comment on your profile, not that you should ever really care about something like that, it's available on everything. So it's definitely worth playing on other platforms. Switch, might even be on mobile. I would definitely say check out any of those because this is a cute game. We need more games like this that are just sort of light-hearted, fun, a couple hour experiences, you're in and you're out. I think that's what would benefit everyone in terms of making a healthier game industry, is give us short, relatively affordable experiences that just leave a little impact, pop in, pop out, have some fun. Not everything has to be hyper realistic, high tech, and takes 6 years to develop and $100 million to market. So I like stuff like this, and I think it's definitely worth playing. All right, moving on to number 8. We have, classic game here. What Remains of Edith Finch. Just over Donut County, we have a 75.85%. This is the PS5 version of What Remains of Edith Finch, if I'm recalling, because the PlayStation 4 version does not have a platinum. It is just, regular trophies. So when this game came to PlayStation 5, they added a platinum trophy, and I actually ended up replaying this game just for the fun of it because it's something that I love so much. This is a really great story, very good example of a game in like the sort of walking sim genre. Extremely creative. What I love about Edith Finch is that it is expression through a variety of mechanics or a variety of situations. So they do everything, kind of mixes up the gameplay or adds a little bit of a twist to it. It's still a walking sim, so it's not really something where you're like having to, play a shoot 'em up section or something like that. But for each of the kind of the character whose story you learn, you're interacting with the game in a different way, and in a way that is sort of consistent to their interests or their age or the circumstances they found themselves in at that point in their life, their mental state. And so a couple of examples in this game I think are some of the best like expression of story through gameplay itself that you'll ever come across, especially one of the last characters you play as. I don't want to give anything away, but if you've never played it before, I highly encourage you to check out What Remains of Edith Finch. This is one of my favorite games. Gotta be in my, I don't know, top 50, 25, somewhere up there. Certainly really good. And I'm not going to scroll down and look at all the trophies. I don't remember how much spoilers there are on the trophy list. I know that there's a couple of trophies that are either missable or you might have to do 2 playthroughs, but the game's like an hour long and it's really cool. So I highly recommend that you do give it a shot. Have I highly recommended every single game on this list so far? Did I highly recommend Lady in a Leotard with a gun? Might have happened. We'll see. We'll see if I can keep that streak going. Or now that I'm aware of it, maybe stop that streak. But yeah, really cool game. Played however you can. And again, another one where even if you don't care about trophies, totally worth it. Also another Annapurna published game. So they're kind of undefeated so far. All right, next one up, number 7, we have Hindsight. Hey, another Annapurna published game. When you lay them all out like this, you start to realize that a lot of Annapurna's games are pretty easy platinums. Interesting. Interesting that people don't knock Annapurna for that the way they knock some other studios, namely Ratalaika, who also publishes a lot of games with very easy platinums. Now, granted, Annapurna's are less easy, but just kind of goes to show you that you can have fun trophy hunting, but don't put too much weight on the rarity or effort to get a trophy. At the end of the day, trophies are secondary to the experience of playing the game, right? It's just a fun way to engage a little more with games that you're interested in or games that you like, or if you're the type of person that likes to gamify your hobby in another way. It's a good way to do that. But don't let things like this, a 78% platinum rarity, deter you from enjoying something. Now, given that, I do have to say that Hindsight was, in my mind, a good, not great game. I love the idea of it. So you play, the mechanics of it are that you can kind of look at objects and you can rotate them around, and you'll look like through that object and sort of see another scene that is like memories that are associated to that object. And so it's a story of this woman that kind of returns back home, and it's like her making peace with her childhood and growing up with her mother and their relationship and everything, told through the nostalgia she has or her interactivity with the objects in the game. So very fun. But another one where there's really not anything missable. There's really not anything overly difficult. You just kind of play through. You might not even have any missable trophies at all. I'm honestly not sure. Another one that I probably won't scroll down in order to avoid spoiling any story for you. But yeah, a fun one. I think I was pretty hyped for this when it was coming out because it seemed like something I'd be really into, and then it was just kind of good enough. So not not like a high recommendation, but if you're playing through the entire Annapurna catalog, this is certainly not the worst game they've ever published. So I had a lot of fun with it. All right, moving on. My 6th most common trophy of the Platinum variety is Reverie. So this is, I believe, one of the few... I think this is a Ratalaika published game. It's saying Rainbite Limited published it, but I could have sworn it was Ratalaika. Anyways, I ordered the physical edition of this from PlayAsia on the Vita, and had nothing to do with trophies, right? I just wanted to play a game that looked really cute. This game, a lot of times people will compare this based on the art style to Earthbound, and artistically that's kind of correct, but in terms of gameplay, it plays much more like a very simple Legend of Zelda game. You know, you're going around collecting key items, you'll go into dungeons, you'll use those items in the dungeons, stuff like that. And it's not a particularly long game or particularly difficult game. I mean, that's going to be true of everything on this list, right? Especially as we move forward. But, and it's definitely true because 78% of people have the platinum. But it's not one that I initially played for trophies really in any way. In fact, if I recall, I wonder if we can, if this is correct here. Oh, no. I was going to say, maybe I should clarify, I kind of played it for trophies, but not really. So I thought that I went back and cleaned this up, but in reality, no, you can see I started it on February 14th, and I ended it on February 16th. So this is in 2021. This was during that time where Rusty and I were really competing over trophies. And so I was looking at my collection and being like, what games do I have that I want to play that do have easy platinums so I can kind of pull ahead of him? And so I looked up my list, and this was one that I pulled up. I was like, oh, this is a very easy platinum, and it's one that I've been meaning to play for a long time. You know, I love this style of game. And so I popped it in. So you could argue in that way that, yeah, I played it for trophies, in that trophies are what gave me the final push. But I purchased the game with intent to play it physically long before I even knew that it had an easy trophy list. Honestly, I think I bought it before I even knew what Ratalaika even was. So, yeah, this is another one where you know, as you play through the story, you'll get most of the trophies. There's a couple of, like, you basically have to collect everything. Yeah, in fact, there's a trophy, where does he fit them all? Collect every permanent inventory item. You'll get most of those naturally through the progression in the game, but there's a couple of things that you need to go do that are optional that you'll have to go find. Collect every feather, so you know it's like a little collectible you have to get. There's a bonus dungeon, it's not too long, you have to beat that. So it's a fun game. It's very slight, I will say, but if you're looking for a Zelda-ish style game and you like that sort of, you know, retro pixel art style, this is a really fun game. I would say it's worth it. It's worth checking out. So, yeah, very solid. 78% of people seem to agree with me. Hopefully, most of the people that played that earned it, or most of the people that earned that enjoyed playing it, I should say. All right, we're entering into the top 5, and actually, number 5 is a game very similar in circumstance to Reverie, and that is Turnup Boy Commits Tax Evasion. So another one that's very common, 80%. Honestly, that surprises me. I feel like this game is sort of the product of the current wave of people getting into trophy hunting, because this is a game that it requires a little bit of effort in order to get the platinum. Like, you have to hunt down, you know, optional things, do some side quests, do some out of the way type stuff. Nothing ridiculously difficult, but there is some effort you have to put in. And so usually that would deter more people, but 80% of people have gotten the platinum, which is just ridiculously high. Now, granted, not a lot of people own this. It's less than 1,000, so maybe that punches some holes into my theory. But I think a lot of people are a little more willing to go that extra 5% these days because they're into trophy hunting. I played this game. This is one that I knew was very similar to Reverie, kind of a Zelda-inspired, cutesy sort of game. So I was interested in that. Obviously, the name catches your attention. Turnup Boy Commits Tax Evasion. What the heck is that game going to be about? And then last, I actually, as part of the podcast that I host, Polykill, which there's a link to in every description on all my videos, by the way, we have a bingo board, actually 3 bingo boards that are like a challenge to beat games that meet certain criteria over the course of the year. And I needed to beat 2 games that had the letters M, Y, and T in the title. And Turnup Boy Commits Tax Evasion certainly has an M, a Y, and a T. So I played this as one of my games. Another one where I already had the physical copy, so it wasn't really too much of a stretch to pop it in and play it. But yeah, this is another like solid 3 out of 5 for me. You know, I think that this sense of humor is a little bit dated and kind of like internet meme-y, and it's sometimes even too easy. But all in all, it's a good time. You get a trophy for committing tax evasion, so I mean, that's certainly a good thing. And yeah, if you look at the rarest trophies, it's basically collecting all the heart fruits, which is the same as like a heart container in The Legend of Zelda. Get all the hats, defeat question, which is part of an optional dungeon that you have to go in and do. And actually has like a little bit of randomness to it. So yeah, this is the type of game that I think a lot of people could accidentally stumble into getting most of the trophies and be like, I might as well clean it up. And that was sort of what happened for me on this one too. All right. Number 4 is Hoa at 82%. Man, I was so excited for Hoa. This game showed in some like indie directs and in Day of the Devs, and there's just a couple different indie showcases where I remember seeing footage of Hoa, and it's incredibly striking. You know, it's got these beautiful painted Studio Ghibli-esque like kind of watercolor backgrounds, beautiful, looks hand animated, looks great in motion. And so I was like, yes, I am playing this game ASAP. And as soon as it came out, I checked it out. And I gotta say, one of my bigger disappointments. Now, the art direction was still good. You know, it definitely had that style, kind of a more upbeat Ori in the Blind Forest sort of vibe. But the gameplay itself was so painfully simple. It's basically split into these large levels, and you need to basically, like puzzle platformer style, figure out what to do to navigate to get to the next level. And it was unfortunately one of those games where I never had to think at all. Like I would walk into a room and I would instantly be able to see how I needed to solve the puzzle, and then I just had to go through the motions of doing it. So I was just basically playing on autopilot and not really ever being challenged or engaged by puzzles in any way. And I don't need a game to have puzzles. Like, again, I loved What Remains of Edith Finch. There's a lot of sort of those type of walking sim games that I really like. But if you are going to be a puzzle platformer and focus on the puzzles, I mean, there's not really story in between these levels. Challenge me a little bit. And unfortunately, this is not very challenging. So I usually tell people this one is not worth picking up for more than a couple dollars, and it's really just to experience the art style. It's really not that great of a game. But again, yet another one that I picked up having no idea that it was going to have an easy platinum. Again, I'm pretty sure I got this very similar or very close to when it first came out back in 2021. So maybe a bit of a pass on that one, but again, if you see trailers and you really want some more of that art, and a very good soundtrack, I'll say. The soundtrack was also quite inspired. So it's sort of everything other than the game was pretty good, which is not great. You know, it's not where you want to be when you're playing a video game. But hey, me and 82% of other people, me and 1,772 Hoa players got a little treat out of it. All right. Top 3. Is this where I get embarrassed? I don't think so, but maybe. Number 3 is Where the Bees Make Honey. So this one, if I was going to be embarrassed about any of the games on my list, this would maybe be one of them. But again, I sort of fell into it. So I had seen this game on the PlayStation Store for a long time, and it was always dirt cheap. For a reason, by the way. And then one day it was on sale during like some like spring sale or something like that, and it was like $1 or 49 cents. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna check out Where the Bees Make Honey. All right, I like the name of that game. You know, it's sort of in the style of Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, and I was like, all right, maybe this will be kind of like a cool, interesting game. I must have gotten, tricked by the screenshots or something, because oof, this game is not great. Not great at all. It is trying to be kind of like a slightly more interactive walking sim. Not that different from Edith Finch, where it's trying to like mix up the gameplay and the environments, but it just falls flat. Different sections don't work well at all. I remember there's like a section where you're driving a car that was really quite poor, and just all in all, not a great game at all. I think it, of anything on this list, could be called trophy trash, but I got tricked. I thought maybe it would be cooler than it is. Even with easy trophies, I thought, maybe this would be kind of like a cool little solo indie dev project, but it really just didn't work out. And then the worst part is, this is where I'm embarrassed about my trophy hunting, is there's these 2 trophies. There's a whole world out there. Choose to not pick up the phone. And how may I help you? Choose to pick up the phone. These are basically, it's a decision at the very end of the game, A or B, and you have to just decide, do you pick up the phone or not? And you get a different ending depending on which one you choose. But there's no way to go back. There's no chapter select. And I didn't know about this when I was playing it, because I wasn't like looking up the trophies or anything. I was just playing through the game. And so I just chose one, and then turns out that I had basically every other trophy at that point except for 1 or 2 and this ending one. And I was like, well, I've come this far and I need to, get the platinum, because I'm trying to beat my friend Rusty in a competition here. So I had to play through this jank game a second time. Now, it only took like an hour, if even, but it's embarrassing to play through a game a second time that you don't like just for some trophies. So while I didn't buy this thinking like, ooh, a tasty platinum, I did end up, sort of going against my better instincts and played it a second time anyways. I did not exercise self-care on that day, but that's all right. And so, we can't win them all. All right. My number 2 most common platinum is Glay Lancer. Oh, she's crying. So 89.5% of players have this platinum. This is a Ratalaika published game. And so that means that it's specifically designed to have easy trophies. If you've never played this game before, Glay Lancer is a scrolling shoot 'em up that originally came out on the Sega Mega Drive. And for years, I really wanted to pick this game up. I wanted to import it. I'm a physical game collector. You can see my Genesis game is actually right behind me. And I always wanted to pick this game up. And it's a very expensive import from Japan. And then sometime later, it got republished. Like, that same company on Amazon Japan put out a reprint of the game, officially licensed by the original development team. And I went to buy that. I ordered it through PlayAsia, but apparently PlayAsia had oversold their stock, and so they ended up canceling my order. So I missed out twice on getting this game. Now, I actually do have it now. It's one of these right here, I think. Because it was reprinted again by Retrobit and sold through Limited Run Games as a distributor. And so I ended up finally getting a physical copy of the reprint. But in between those, I was like, I want to play Glay Lancer. And I was scrolling on my buddy Rusty's trophy list. Now, this is what we used to do, okay? He'll recall this as well. When we were, hot in the competition with one another, every so often we'd hop onto PSN profiles here and we'd look at the other person's trophy list and be like, did they get any easy platinums that I could maybe go copy? And I saw that my boy Rusty had played through Glay Lancer and got the platinum. And I was like, I actually want to play Glay Lancer. I've wanted to play Glay Lancer for a long time. And so I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. So I picked it up, played through it. All you have to do is play through the game and reach certain scores, which you will easily get before actually beating the game. So you basically just need to play through the game. There's assists to help you play through it without actually having to really try particularly hard. And you'll get the platinum. And you know what? I was happy to see that it was for a game that I've always really wanted to check out anyways. I like horizontal and vertical scrolling shooters quite a bit. So that's like kind of a note here about Ratalaika. You know, they have this reputation for shovelware games, but they do publish some legitimately good games that they just have the pitch of selling to people by including really easy trophies. So sometimes you got to look past that. You got to be willing to accept that because there are some cool, fun games in their catalog. And Glay Lancer happened to be one of them. You know, this game was not developed from the ground up to be an easy trophy game. This is a classic Mega Drive shooter from the, late 80s, early 90s. So, just sort of like understand that not everything is as black and white as sometimes it may seem in discussions online, I guess. And yeah, I had fun. Which brings us to our number one. Drum roll. What is my most common platinum? More common than Glay Lancer at 89% is, in fact, Glay Lancer again at 93. So, this is the only time I've ever done this. And this is something that I am not proud of. I don't like to do stacks. In fact, this, as I said, this is my only stack of any game ever. And so these two stacks are the PS4 and PS5 version. When you buy this game, you get both. And Rusty, I believe, had done the PS4 version. That last one, I think, was the PS4 version we were looking at. And this is the PS5 version. And so you know what? I'm so desperate to stay ahead in this trophy competition I'm having with my friend. I'm going to do the stack. And so I did it. I don't know why this one is 4% higher. Maybe that other one was the PS5 version and this is the PS4 version because that would be more common. Is there a spot for me to see? Yeah, this is the PS4 version. So yeah, that makes sense because PS4, this game came out during the PS4's life cycle. So more common. So that other one was PS5. But yeah, I played through it a second time, back to back. I did this, I believe, the same day that I did the other Glay Lancer. And it sits as a permanent stain of the only time that I was desperate enough to get an easy platinum that I played through a stack of an easy game. I wouldn't have done it if it was not for that competition. And to be honest, I think the results of that competition would have gone the same whether or not I had done this. So at the end, I only hurt myself. But you know what? It's there. It's a good bit of evidence, sort of stamps that competition and my mindset at the time. So I have no regrets. And yeah, that'll do it. That is exactly 15 of my most common platinum trophies. So you be the judge. Let me know in the comments. Am I spamming the trophy trash? I think most of these games I had either a legitimate interest in playing or I kind of accidentally stumbled into an easy trophy game. So, it's just sort of the nature of the thing. I can still, hold my head high and say I've never purchased any of the true, jumping taco or, jumping quesadilla or jumping letter H or anything like that. Road hustle, road bustle, something like that. Never purchased any of those. And you know that I did not have My Name is Mayo on this list either. I've never played My Name is Mayo. So, again, let me know what you think. If that is how you feel about the list. We'll just say, let me know how you feel about these 15 games. And also, I'd really like to know what are some of your most common platinums and why. Did you have a little bit of a platinum hunting addiction for a while and play some games you weren't proud of? Or are you kind of more like me where some of the games you were interested in just happened to have easy platinums? But all in all, thank you for watching. I have some other trophy videos coming, and I have some others that I've already put out. So you're probably seeing stuff on the screen for recommendations that you can go watch. And yeah, that'll do it for us today. So until next time, peace.